Howdy, how's it going? It's your boy Tins Move back here with another video today. Today I'm going to be going over my Week 7 Top 25 for college football here. And I've already got it up on the screen for you here so you can see all of my picks. And I'm kind of going based off of last week's and kind of how they played and based off what I saw this week whenever I'm doing these rankings here. So coming in at number 25, and I will go to tell you who I have dropped out of this week's ranking. So Texas A&M has been dropped out. They lost to Alabama. It's a close game, but nonetheless, they're still what 3-3, so they drop out. I've also dropped out Arkansas after their loss. I've dropped out Washington. I've dropped out BYU, and I've dropped out Baylor. Those are my 5 dropouts for this week. Now I've added a few teams, as you can see here, and one of those is starting off at number 25. I have added the North Carolina Tar Heels. They did have a good win against Miami. Now, it wasn't anything special or anything like that. It was 27-14. But it was on the road. Miami was, I guess, supposed to be a good team at the beginning of the year. So I still think that that's a good win for them to get on the road there, 27-24. They're still 5-1. I still think that they kind of deserve to be in the top 25. So I have added North Carolina Tar Heels in at number 25 there. At number 24, we got the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati had a good win against South Florida as a 28-24. I mean, South Florida's not really that good. They're 1-5 on the year. Cincinnati was already number 24 in the actual AP poll. So I have kind of just put them in here at number 24. They weren't even ranked in my last week's poll at all. But I have put them in here at number 24, and that's kind of where I'm leaving them. I kind of expect them to stay around the number 24 in the real AP poll as well. I can't see them going up any more than that after they're only beating a 1-4 team at the time by 4 points. Coming in at number 23, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, Kentucky was ranked pretty high at the beginning of this year, as many of you know. Kentucky in my poll last week was ranked number 11. So if you've looked, I have dropped them 13 spots. Or sorry, not 13 spots. I've dropped them 12 spots. My bad. I've dropped Kentucky 12 spots. They did lose today. Well, depending on when you're watching this, they did lose on Saturday. I'll say that to South Carolina. It was a bad loss, and before the game, I even thought to myself, there is a possibility that Kentucky could come in and fluke this game. They could lose this game. There's a possibility. And sure enough, they came in and they lost the game. So to me, that's a pretty significant loss. It's their second loss of the season, second straight loss, actually. And the other bad thing about it is that Kentucky was at home. So it just was a whole... I think it was a game that they definitely should not have lost. South Carolina's only SEC win this year. South Carolina's only good win this year. All their other wins has been against Charlotte and SC State and one other, team that doesn't really even count. Let's see here. I can find out real quick. South Carolina, they have had wins against Charlotte and SC State, yeah. So, not really anything special. Their other win besides Charlotte and SC State came from Georgia State. That's right, at the beginning of the year. So, 3 wins. This is their 4th win. This is their actual good win. I did kind of debate about putting them in the top 25, maybe at like 25 or something, because they beat a ranked team. In real life, Florida was ranked, or not in real life, but in the AP poll, Kentucky. I don't know why I keep thinking Florida. I guess it's because Kentucky beat Florida, but Kentucky was ranked number 13 in the actual AP poll. So, it is a good win for South Carolina. It's their first SEC win. I just couldn't put them in the top 25 because they're still a 4-2 team. They're 1-2 in the ACC, and their only wins has been against 3 other schools that they're expected to win anyway. So if they have another impressive win, maybe down the road, then I may potentially pop them in the top 25. But as of now, they're staying out. But they did beat Kentucky. This was a good win for them. They'll go and play Texas A&M next week, and then towards the end of the year, they'll get Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson in back-to-back-to-back weeks. So we'll see how they handle those games. They did beat Kentucky though, so it drops Kentucky down to number 23 in my poll. Number 22, I got Texas coming in. I did not have Texas in my last week's poll, but I think this week they showed out good enough, and I'm popping them in here. Now, I would have liked to put them more back towards the back half of this, like towards 24, 25 area, but I just couldn't find a good spot for them around that area. I tried. Looked at it many different ways, and there's just not really a good spot for them. I feel like the number 22 spot is a pretty good spot for them. I really want. I could have put them, at 23 and left Kentucky at 22 or something. Either way, if you're in your poll, you want to flip that and flop that. That's completely okay. I would agree with that as well. I just feel like Kentucky coming off the loss, especially a loss like that. I felt like bumping them because I already had them placed at number 23. When I was going through here, so I felt like that if I bump them up to put Texas back, then it really wouldn't be that fair, considering that they lost to an unranked team and only put up 14 points at home against them. Now, granted, Will Levis did not play, so that's I understand that, but still, yet back-to-back weeks they've lost, and I kind of feel like it's a good spot for them to be at 23. And I feel like Texas being at 22 is a good spot for them as well. Anywhere between the 22 to 24 range, I think Texas fits in. They did beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a complete bust this year, as we know. They were ranked in the top 10. Now they're not ranked at all. Texas came in and blew them out 49 to nothing. I think that anytime that you blow, not any team, but anytime that you blow a team in your conference out 49 to nothing, that's impressive. If Georgia came in and blew Auburn out 49 to nothing, which they didn't, they beat them 42 to 10. But if they came out and beat them 49 to nothing, that would be impressive because you're holding them to no points. It's extremely difficult in college football to hold an opponent to no points at all. No points. That means you're not even letting them get in field goal range. Nothing. No points. So I mean that's an extremely difficult thing to do. So holding them 49 to nothing, that was an impressive win, and I think it earns them that number 22 spot there, coming in here. And they're not that bad. They are 4-2 now after that win. So I think that's a good spot for them at 22 there. Coming out at 21, I got Notre Dame. They also were not ranked. So on this bottom line here, 21 through 25, 4 of these teams were not ranked in my last week's poll, and that was North Carolina, Cincinnati, Texas, and Notre Dame. The only team here that was ranked last week was Kentucky. But I got Notre Dame in at number 21 there. They came off of a good win. I believe they beat BYU. Yes, they did. They beat BYU 28 to 20. Now, Notre Dame is 3-2 now. So it's not, they're not super impressive at all. They did lose to Ohio State at the beginning of the year. They also lost to Marshall. They started out 0-2. The only other teams they have beat is North Carolina, which is a ranked team in my poll now. They beat Kentucky. I mean, not Kentucky, California. Apologies for that. And they also beat BYU. BYU is ranked. Even in the AP poll, they're ranked. So I felt like that was good enough for them to get in the top 25 here this week for my poll. Once again, I could have put them farther back, but just kind of where it aligned and everything. I felt like it was a good fit for them to be here at 21. So Notre Dame is at number 21 here. And keep in mind, a lot of people watch these and they disagree with them and everything, and that's completely fine. If you disagree with these polls, that's fine. You can go create your own, and I'll link that down below for you too if you want to, so you can go create your own poll. But it's completely fine to disagree with these polls. These polls that I'm creating right here are no way, shape, or form are they a power ranking. So there's a difference in a power ranking and a poll ranking. Okay, so a power ranking is saying this team will beat this team will beat this team, and it's straightforward, right? So you got number one, number two, number three. So a power ranking, if this were a power ranking, which it is not, but if this were a power ranking, this ranking right here would basically be saying that I think that the number one team can beat any team on this list. I think the number two team can beat any team on this list besides the number one team. I think the number three team can beat anyone besides two and one, and so on and so forth. That's how a power ranking would go. It would say any team above a rank of another team could beat them. That's how a power ranking works. A poll ranking is not saying that. For an example, number 3 could beat number 1 any day of the week. Number 25 could beat number 1. It's a poll and a power ranking are two different things. This is a poll ranking. So just because I've got someone placed where I think they deserve to be doesn't exactly mean that I'm saying that they could beat a team that might be ranked lower than them or higher than them. That's kind of how it works. Just like the AP poll, it's not a power ranking; it's a poll ranking. So there's a difference there. Number 20, I got Syracuse. Last week I did have Syracuse down at number 24. I bumped them up to 20. They did have a bye week this week. They didn't play anyone. I didn't really necessarily want to bump them up to 20, but I also didn't want Texas or Notre Dame or Cincinnati or a team that I didn't even have ranked to come in at number 20, and I needed to fill that spot, so I kind of bumped them up there. Just because they didn't play, so they didn't win or lose, and they kind of just got bumped up by default there. And because last week the team that I had at 20 got bumped up a little bit. So that's kind of how they found their place at number 20 there. Now, next week, I do believe Syracuse has a decent game. Yes, next week, Syracuse plays NC State. So that will be a very good game to watch and see how it turns out. And then the next week after that, they play Clemson. So they do have two tough games back to back. If they can win both of those games, they'll find themselves pretty far up the ranking. I don't think that they will win both of those games, but if they were to, that would be very impressive for them there in the ACC conference. Number 19, we got Kansas. So Kansas, in my last week's poll, they were ranked number 21. And the only reason they got bumped up once again is I kind of felt, towards the middle of this, like 15 to 18 spot, I was finding a problem putting people. So I kind of had to place Kansas there just to kind of fill these polls and so that I didn't have an unranked team coming all the way in at that ranking when they weren't even ranked the previous week before. Now, Kansas, let's see, they did play TCU today, and they did lose. It was 31-38. TCU was also ranked higher than them anyway. I think TCU was even picked to win this game. So it's not really it's not really anything that I think that they should be dropped out of the AP poll for, or even this poll. Now, in the AP poll, they were ranked number 19, so I've got them at the same place the AP poll has them anyway. I think when the AP poll comes out Monday, they might drop, 2 or 3 spots. I don't think that they'll drop really any farther than that, though, because they did lose to a ranked team that was ranked higher than them anyhow and was picked to win. Kansas did have a really good game, really fun game to watch. Both teams put up 21 points each in the third quarter there. I mean, that's just very impressive. That's 42 points combined. That was just one after another, after another, after another. No defense in the third quarter. It was just all offense, kind of a really fun game to watch. Big 12 game there. So yeah, I got Kansas still at 19 here. We'll see how they continue to do. They're only 5-1, and we'll see how they do next week. Let's see. I think that they do take on. Yeah. So next week, they will play Oklahoma. So we'll see if they can blow Oklahoma out like Texas did. Oklahoma's not really good this year. I fully expect Kansas to come in there and kind of take over that game from the get-go and not really give Oklahoma a chance. It is at Oklahoma. It's going to be a noon game, so we'll see how they handle it, but I fully expect Kansas to win that game there. Number 18, I got Kansas State. Now, Kansas State did win. It wasn't a really good win at all. It was against a 3-2 team. 0-2 in the Big 12. That team is now 3-3, 0-3 in the Big 12. Iowa State. So Kansas State won 10-9. Not really an impressive win. And there in the fourth quarter, they were losing 7-9. They managed to get a field goal in the fourth quarter and seal it off. they're still 5-1. They're still a pretty decent team. They're number 20 in the AP poll. In my last week's poll, Kansas State was number 20. And I bumped them up here 2 spots due to the win and kind of needing places to put people and stuff. I still think Kansas State is a pretty good team. But today they just played sloppy. I don't know if they got in over their head or what, but they kind of just played sloppy today. So I got them in here at number 18. Number 17, I got Mississippi State. Mississippi State, they played pretty good. They've been playing good the last few weeks here. Let's see. They got Mississippi State played Arkansas today. They won 40-17. So bumped them up here quite a few spots. In my poll last week, I had Mississippi State at 23. That's also their spot in the AP poll, but I bumped them up from 23 to 17 here. Number 16, I got Utah. Utah had a game against UCLA today, and they lost that game. So I had them in number 10 in my poll last week. I've got them bumped down to number 16 now this week. TCU, I've got at 15. Now last week TCU was, let's see, I have them here somewhere. No, TCU wasn't even ranked in my poll last week. I remember that now. Yeah. So TCU was not ranked in my poll last week. Should have been. I think I overlooked them. I don't know what happened. But they were number 15 here this week after their win over Kansas. At number 14, I got Wake Forest. Wake Forest played Army today. Not a really good team, but they did beat them. They beat them 45-10. So Wake Forest bumps up to 14 here. Last week, Wake Forest was number 16 in my poll, so I got them bumped up here to number 14. Number 13, I got NC State. NC State last week in my poll was number 14. This week they bump up to number 13. They did win against Florida State by 2 points. It was 19-17, so I did bump them up 1 spot here. Really the top 12 is when it gets pretty tight here. So number 12, I got Oregon at number 12 here. So the Oregon Ducks, they did beat Arizona 49-22. So I got them here at number 12. Now they are number 12 in the AP poll, but last week in my poll they were number 13. So they did get bumped up 1 spot here after their win against Arizona. At number 11, I have UCLA. I did have UCLA at number 19 last week, but they did come out and win this week. I just talked about this game a minute ago, so let's see. Can't find it here now. They did beat Utah, yep, 42-32. And then at number 10, I got Penn State. Penn State did not play this week, so they kind of got bumped up by default. They were on a bye week. I had them at number 12 last week. I bumped up number 10 here. At number 9, I got Oklahoma State. Last week I had Oklahoma State at number 8. I did bump them back 1. They did win by 10 points, but it was against Texas Tech. And it was at home, and it was kind of a nail-biter for a little bit. So I did bump them back just 1 for that. You could leave them at number 8 like I had them. That would be fine as well. And switch them with Ole Miss. But I think that they kind of deserve to get bumped back 1 there, so I did bump them back to number 9. At Ole Miss, I have at number 8. They played Vanderbilt today, and they did win that game, but there at halftime they were trailing 20-17, but they come out in the third quarter they put up 21, in the fourth quarter they put up 14, and they almost shut Vandy out for the second half. They won that game 52-28. At Vandy Stadium. Now, at Vanderbilt, it's not a very difficult place to play. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's not very difficult. But at the same time, they are 6-0. They're 2-0 in the SEC. So I did bump Ole Miss up to number 8 here this week in my poll. At number 7, I have Southern California. I did have them at number 6 last week, but after their game today, I did bump them back. They did win against Washington State, but kind of what I'm doing here for these top teams, because they're all still undefeated. So kind of what I'm doing is the most impressive game, that person gets bumped up. So between really the top 8, top 7, top 8, whoever's the most impressive game, they might get bumped up a spot or 2. Now between the top 3, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, or whatever order you want to put it in, it's the most impressive game that week. It's going to get bumped up to 1, 2, 3. just because it's so hard to pick because they're all playing pretty good. Now Georgia has had their, they've been slacking a little bit, but this week they did get it together. So. And then Alabama looked a little off. So kind of just whoever has the most impressive game, I kind of order it from 1, 2, 3, and then we go from 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and then 10. Now I'm not saying like if Penn State played more impressive than Georgia, I'm gonna bump them all the way up to number 1. No, that's not how it works. It's kind of broken down into tiers, just because all of these teams in the top 8 are still undefeated. Really. So it's kind of hard to find a spot for them all. And any way that you swap them around, someone's not going to be happy with it. Someone's going to disagree with it. So the best way to do it is just whoever plays more impressive, based off of who they play. If they play a ranked team and they blow them out, and then the other team, let's say the number 2 team plays an unranked team and they only win by 1 point, well then obviously the team that played the ranked team and blew them out played a better game. They played a harder game because that team's ranked, and they played better because they blew them out. So obviously they deserve to be ranked up better. That's just the way I kind of look at it here. Again, not saying that I would take the number 8 team and bump them up to number 1 just because they beat a number 25 team. I'm just saying that's kind of just the way that I kind of look at it here. When you get in the top 8, it's kind of hard to find a spot for them all just because they're all still undefeated. And until they play each other, some of these teams won't play each other. In the top 8, some of these teams won't play each other all year unless they go to the playoffs together. So, but the teams that do play each other, like Tennessee and Alabama, Georgia and Tennessee, Ohio State and Michigan, those teams, then they'll break themselves out at the end, towards the end of the year, and you'll be able to branch them out more. But start of still in the middle of the season, it's hard to branch them out and find a place to put them. So at number 7, I do have Southern California. Like I said, they played Washington State, and they beat them by 16 points. So I did bump them back 1, and then I put Tennessee in their spot. I bumped them up. I had them at number 7 last week. I bumped them up to number 6 because they did go into a hostile environment. Keep in mind, this Southern California win was at home. Tennessee, on the other hand, went into a hostile environment in LSU. They took over the game in the beginning, and they just ran with it. They won that game 40-13. So Tennessee did get bumped up 1 spot there to number 6. They do have Alabama next week, so that will be telltale. I don't think Alabama will be where they are in my poll, in the AP poll. I don't think they'll be number 3. They'll probably still be at number 1, maybe number 2. But this is just my poll, so I've kind of just placed them there because I feel like that's kind of where they deserve to be. But at number 5, I do have Clemson. Clemson Tigers, they played Boston College today, and they won 31-3. So I did. Last week I had them at number 4. I did put them at number 5, and then I swapped them with Michigan because Michigan played Indiana, which I feel is better than Boston College, and they beat them 31-10. And they played on the road as well. So I did bump them up. I kind of swapped them out. So my swaps right here is I swapped Southern California with Tennessee, and I swapped Clemson with Michigan. That's it. That's all I really did. And that's just because I feel like Tennessee had a more impressive win than Southern California, and I feel like Michigan had a more impressive win than Clemson. Because keep in mind, Clemson was playing a 2-3 team, and they did blow them out, but it's a 2-3 team. So I did put them there, and I did swap them out. At number 4, like I said, I have the Michigan. At number 3, I have Alabama. Alabama played Texas A&M. They won 24-20. Texas A&M all the way down to the 2-yard line at the end of the game. They had a chance to win. They couldn't get it done. It was 24-20 at home. They should have blown them out. Texas A&M's not even ranked. They should have definitely blown them out. So I did bump Alabama back from number 1 all the way to number 3. Ohio State did win, and they played. Let's see who they played. Ohio State. What's up with them? They played Michigan State, so they beat them 49-20 on the road. Michigan State's not that really good, so you could put Michigan, Ohio State at number 3 and Alabama at number 2. But I really don't think that they deserve to be at the number 1 spot, just based off of how they played today and how Georgia played better than them, in my opinion, on the road even. So I feel like that it was. I feel, my correction, Georgia was not on the road, but Georgia did play better than Alabama today. And they shut out their team, the team that they played in the Auburn. They shut them out in the first half. So I feel like Alabama deserved to be bumped back number 3. Have Ohio State at number 2 due to their win, and then I have Georgia at number 1 again. If you know, not really trying to be biased at all, but I did take Georgia back a few weeks ago because they lost. I mean, they didn't lose, correction, but they almost lost. They let Samford put up, 22 points, whatever it was on them. I forgot now, but 22, 23 points on them at home. Then they go into Missouri, nearly fluke over the game, find a way to win, 26-22. So I did bump it back because of how they played. They only won by 4 points against an unranked team, right? So any Alabama fan that's going to sit here and say, it's unfair to bump it back, whatever. Okay, well, think about this. Whenever Georgia almost lost to Missouri, and it was 26-24, did you ever say, oh, they don't deserve to be number 1, blah, 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 blah. They lost by 4 points, keep in mind, to an unranked team. You did the same thing tonight. I mean, they won by 4 points against an unranked team. I don't know why I keep saying lost, but they won by 4 points against an unranked team. Well, Alabama did the same thing tonight. The same exact thing. They came in, and they beat Texas A&M by 4 points at home, mind you. Now Georgia won by 4 points on the road, which I mean, not that Missouri is a hard place to play. That's not my point though. It's the same exact thing. Georgia won by 4 points. They got bumped back in my poll. Alabama won by 4 points against an unranked team. Both teams were unranked, and they got bumped back in my poll because of that. Now, if Alabama would have came in here and blew this team out, then I would have had no choice but to leave them at number 1. But they did not. So I had to bump them back. Georgia did blow their team out. So they deservedly got the number 1 spot. And Ohio State did blow their team out. Even though it was Michigan State, they still blew their team out on the road. So they get bumped up to number 2. And Alabama's at number 3. And that's just because out of these top 3, the most impressive was Georgia. The second most impressive was Ohio State. The third most impressive was Bama. And that's just the way I kind of look at it there. If you disagree, I understand. But if you do disagree, I just want you to keep in mind, I'm sure when Georgia was almost losing to Missouri, that, there were some fans that wanted to bump them back. Well, okay. Now Georgia's came back. They've got their stuff back together, and they blew a team out. While Alabama did the same thing that Georgia did last week and beat their team by 4 points that was an unranked team. So it's really the same thing. That's kind of how I've made my decision here to bump Alabama back. So this is my Week 7 Top 25. Comment down below kind of what you think of it. Put down your list, what you got. I want to see it. Take a look at it. If you disagree, that's fine. Just let me know down below why you disagree. No problem with that. No hard feelings at all. If you don't mind to slap a like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon. You'll get notified when I upload. At 10,000 subscribers, we will be doing a giveaway. Join the Discord. It's in the description. You'll have more details in the Discord about the giveaway that will happen at 10,000 subscribers. And this has been your boy T and Smooth saying peace.